ignore facts and logic, I think that I just have a different way of achieving prosperity than you do.
Mm-hmm. So a follow-up question would be, should people be taken care of if they don't put in work or anything of value to the system? Should there be such a thing as a free ride?
I think every human being should have their basic needs met, but anything extra, no.
And how would we classify what a basic need is?
Okay, food, clothing, health care, and shelter.
Okay.
The 4 main things.
And wasn't it just like a few years ago that internet access was also considered a basic human right?
Okay, then you can add that on there too, yeah. Yeah.
And even though people have said internet access, do you think that is helping people to have access to the internet?
I mean, the internet itself is kind of as Roland would say, like a hive of scum and villainy. But there's also some good that comes from it, because if there was no internet, I wouldn't know Crimson or Muffler.
Whoa, hold on.
Are you really going to use knowing me as a good point of the internet?
I'm saying that we wouldn't have this podcast right now.
Wait. Let me correct you here. I do not say that the internet itself is a hive and scum of villainy. What I say is that certain aspects of it are. Those certain aspects being chat rooms and things like specifically X/Twitter. That is the thing that I go to the most when I make that point. I do not say that the internet itself is a problem.
I would have said Twitter, but that's fine.
Well, that's what I just said.
No, sorry. Reddit. Damn it, fucking got sidetracked. Yeah, I would have said Reddit.
I bring Reddit up a lot as well.
But you didn't.
Sure.
And I did.
I'm just saying, don't say the internet is a hive of scum and villainy. That's not what I'm saying.
Okay. Sorry. But yeah, so I think there are some benefits to people being able to be on the internet. I think that everybody, if possible, should have access to it.
Well, unless they have access to electricity too. So, like, should they have access to electricity as well for free?
Well, yeah.
I gotta ask you now. What about Alex Jones, Donald Trump, and people like that? Should they have full access to the internet?
Sure. I think everybody should.
I'm not the biggest knowledgeable on this topic, man, but if people need to have their necessities met, I think at the bare minimum, food, water, shelter, and clothes are probably like at max. Like you should give people. You probably shouldn't be giving people the internet for creating their own free time, or a phone for Wi-Fi or electricity, because why do you think they deserve that?
I think that I think it's a good means for people.
I'm sorry, Roman, for a second, because I think I'm going to add to your point. Could you realistically, in this day and age, living in exactly where you are, boom, I take away your phone and everything else, is it easy for you to survive? I take away all your technology.
It's still hard to survive, but it's even harder to thrive.
Hold on. All of your technology in the forms of internet.
I need to address that.
Difficult.
I need to address that, but in a different way. So I'm going to let everybody else respond.
Because that's basically what Roman's saying. It's not that you don't lose your electricity and all this other shit. It's just no internet.
Yeah, but dude, there's a difference between debanking somebody, like depersoning somebody online, and like whether or not you actually can physically access the thing. There's a difference.
I'm saying there is no internet. That's what he is originally.
Yeah, so that is access to the thing, not necessarily whether or not you can have a presence on the thing.
Yes, but I'm saying right now, the life that you're currently living, would it be easier without said thing? No, it wouldn't.
No.
So what would your life be like without said thing?
I probably wouldn't have a job.
Exactly. That's what Roman's is. If I'm not mistaken, Roman, correct me if I'm wrong.
That doesn't mean I have a right to it, though. I pay for my bills because I'm a responsible adult.
I'm not arguing any of that.
Okay.
I just was bringing up what the ultimate of what this hypothetical is.
Cool. Everybody can pay for my shit, and that'll make me happy. I'm cool with this. Continue on.
No. Nobody has it. That's the point.
I got you, Muffler. I got you, man.
I'll help you out, Muffler.
I think that having access to something, like as far as like not being depersoned and stuff, like again, there's costs associated with providing you with something, right? But there is no cost to allowing you to have access to the thing, right? So like China, they would have like a social credit system, and they just wouldn't let you have access to it on that basis. Like you could maybe afford it, but they're just not going to let you have it, right? So that's different than whether or not you can actually like physically pay for the thing to access it, or whether or not it should be provided to you. Like you have instances where like Alex Jones and other internet personalities may have been banned off of certain websites, restricted. You could have like banking issues. Like I'm more concerned with depersoning than I am about whether or not we're providing people with something like on a cost basis, if that makes sense. Like, sorry. I mean, yeah, but I know he's trying to talk about something else, so it's fine.
It makes sense, but that doesn't really.
That's why I said the last part. Continue with the conversation. Sorry.
No, you don't have to apologize. You're fine.
It's fine, bro.
It's just like
I'm slowly getting liquored up, boys. It's gonna happen. I had to watch some bullshit, and I'm low on sleep. So.
Oh, what bullshit! We'll talk about that later.
It's called Drops of God, Drops of Satan's asshole.
He went from Oceano Code to lack of sleep to work to getting a little drunk to Drops of God to this.
Yeah, pretty much.
He has had a doozy of a day, my friends.
That's what happens when you hang out with Arceus. You drink Drops of God.
We're just two wild and crazy guys.
I think I'm the only one that got that reference.
That's correct.
Do you have any follow-up questions for me? Do you have any follow-up questions for me?
How would you like the idea of everyone should be taken care of and have their basic needs met is a very noble thing to have. But I guess the follow-up would be, how do we ensure that who has access, or not who has access, but whomever is in charge of dishing out these rations, if you will, how would we go about ensuring that they don't get corrupted?
Okay, so I think I've laid this out before, but everything that I talk about is in like a hypothetical, there is no corruption world.
Roman, you did watch Attack on Titan, right? You do realize they're communists.
Yes, but the point that I'm making is that to answer Corey's question, everything that I talk about on this pod basically would happen in a world where the government's not corrupted, because
that's never going to happen. Though. That's what every.
Hang on. Let him continue.
Okay, I have a rebuttal.
Well, because here's the thing: you can't do any of what I talk about unless you uncorrupt the government. So who wants to go next? Muffler or?
Well, I was going to piggyback on kind of what Roland was saying, but I was just going to say, like, so since you understand that it doesn't function as it is right now, how do you ensure, so I can only think of two things for you. One would be, how do you make it to where it is possible to achieve that? Or B, will you ever be able to actually achieve it in reality? Those would be the two questions I have on that.
So here's how you would do it. So first thing that I would do first, and this wouldn't solve all of the problems, but Citizens United is a big reason why we have a lot of our problems. And so, therefore,
Whoa, wait. Citizens United is a reason why we have problems?
it's a big part of it, yeah.
Citizens being united together.
No,
Citizens
no.
United is a political thing. It's like
It basically allows the corporations to buy all of our politicians.
All right, Muffler, go.
I was just going to ask a follow-up on that. So is that the reason why people are corrupt?
No, but it really helps them to be that way, though. Like, Citizens United basically made it legal, essentially.
So how many bad apples would it take for that system to start failing, though? Because that would help, but that wouldn't actually solve the problem of human corruption in general, correct?
Well, sure, but I'm saying, though, that it would be a huge step forward, but what you would have to do is, essentially, you would have to get rid of all of the bad apples in Washington. That's what you would have to That's what you would have to do in that sense.
But it wouldn't just be Washington, though. Don't you think every state has bad apples?
Sure.
And if you take out one generation of bad apples, that doesn't necessarily mean there won't be a future generation where bad apples come up too, right?
Exactly.
That's where you pass legislation that would ban, that would basically ban like lobbying, that would ban like stock trading.
Who says they're the bad apple though?
Right. You don't even need to have that for the system to start having issues, because just from people knowing each other, like they'll still trade influence with one another. Because hey, guess what? Me and you, we're friends. We freely associate, right? We help each other out. We're friends. That's always going to be human society forever, man.
Here's the thing. Nothing from nothing. When you're talking bad apples, who dictates who the bad apples are? Like
Psychopaths. We'll get there.
Exactly why we're going to be watching Psychopaths. But it's like if I dictate that all the bad apples are specifically people from Denmark, you know what I mean? Like who dictates
what did Denmark do?
Apples? Exactly. What
did WEF? Fucking George Soros. I don't know.
Denmark too. No, my point is, whoever's in control is the one dictating who the bad apples are. So your argument of like you're just bad apples, it depends on where it runs. If it doesn't run from honestly a religious standpoint, it doesn't have a moral dictation that actually makes sense, in my opinion.
Religion can be corrupted too, and you often have sectarian violence that would break out. So I don't think that would actually solve it.
No, absolutely. I mean, from the moral standpoint, those morals come from where?
I get what you mean.
Well, that just would give them a justification to weed out bad apples that they see fit.
Right. That's the only thing I'm saying.
Because the book says, and if the book says, or whatever the case is, I'm just using a
arbitrary but like. I would say that some of those morals are the ones that are held by most societies. And most of those societies that hold these certain morals, it all comes from a religious standpoint, correct? Not a societal standpoint.
Not when you look at China.
No, but even China, where is it rooted? It's rooted from the ancient religion standpoint. And it's been changed because of communism. But I'm talking about like Taoism, things like that.
Pretty sure it would just be people worshiping the state, because the state would be everything.
Well, that is now.
But a theocracy would be the same difference. I just real quick want to. Iran is a theocracy.
I'm not talking about theocracy. I'm just saying that a lot of these things have come from these things. You get what I'm saying?
There's always an appeal to authority. I get it. Sorry, man. Go ahead, Roman. I apologize.
No. Muffler, you continue because you had something to say.
No, I was just going to say, like, there's always an appeal to authority. I was just responding
bro.
to you. Like, I mean, I think we had a pretty good discussion. Yeah, we're cool.
No, I mean, I think also though, a lot of what I would want to fight for, would kind of just be hope for a better tomorrow. Because if I just give in to the system cannot be fixed, then nothing will ever get fixed. So
It's just
if I just keep fighting, then maybe someday it'll actually happen. So
Roman, I want you to answer this question.
the people that don't like other races also get the benefits. All they want is to live in their own community away from the other races. So when I say Medicare for all, I mean Medicare for all. I don't care what your political affiliation is.
That's a
I don't
crazy
care.
answer.
I don't care. I don't care whether you hate people. I don't care whether you're a racist or not. I don't care. Because when it says for all, it doesn't mean only for people that I like. Because to me, I will want everyone to have that thing. Because everyone on the basis level, being a human being, in my eyes, deserves that. So, whether you hate it or not, I'm not going to deny you that because you hate people. So, how would I be able to? Because I can't.
Here's a
Because that
question I
would be
do
morally
want to ask the lot of you. Who here do you think, if given the power to enact the changes that they want, would not turn into an evil person? Is there
Honestly,
anyone
Crimson.
of this group that you could say wholeheartedly is not going to get corrupted by power?
Honestly,
Nope.
Crimson, because I believe that he's very steadfast about not liking lobbying. I actually think that he would not turn evil.
You give me power in your Discord and I abuse it. What the fuck are you on about?
yeah, he can't.
I
Yeah, the
actually-
most
I was
modicum of power.
I actually have an answer to
The
this
biggest
one.
issue is I do live up to the name of the troll party. Is I will fuck with people, and part of that is abusing power. I've like it's not like I've been out here like absolutely being like horrible to everyone, but the fact is that I do kick people from calls and I do mute them. Like I do use that power.
No matter what you do, you're gonna piss someone off, you know.
No. Let me say real quick. Who right here on this panel? Well, there's two answers. It's Kuzi and Arceus. For sure. Now, would either of them be the ones that could possibly fucking destroy the planet? Absolutely. But they're the least likely. They're the least likely to start a war, for sure, is Kuzi and Arceus.
How would I start a war? How would I start a war?
I was like this.
Roland, I have no
Here's
enemies.
my big problem with the unlimited power thing.
Yeah.
Is that okay, let's just assume that like I get unlimited power and I go throughout my life and I can do whatever I want, okay? And I end not fucking anything up. What's the guarantee that the next guy won't fuck everything up? Or the guy after that? Because the fact is, once you invest that kind of power into any sort of body, it's going to become the target of people who would like to exploit that power.
You already
Whether
know
you
the
are a
answer.
good person or not, eventually you will have not good people trying to suck up to you to get you to use that power for their benefit.
We should get this man to read Realist Hero, bro.
Great Pilgrim, you already know the answer to that question. It's you, buddy. Everybody knows.
Yeah, man, it's you.
But no, insofar as this goes, here's my big problem with like the everyone should have their needs met. And it really comes down to a simple question. Does someone needing something give them the right to that thing? If your answer to this question is yes, to what extent does that logic apply? Like various people need various things. Not everyone has the same needs.
I could really use a blowjob right now.
Me too, dude.
Same here. And
The
I don't
point
care
is
from
that
who.
either the point is that when you start talking about, oh well, people need this or people need that. Well, at the end of the day, if we're talking about food, well, people have to work to produce food. And just because someone needs it doesn't mean that they're now entitled to come to your field and take that away from you. Now, you can talk about how you can have the government come in and do all this, that, and the other, but that still raises a bunch of problems that you will eventually come to face as you try to sort out the issues with human nature and with trying to supply everyone with everything that they supposedly need.
Crimson, I see what you're saying. So let me just pose this there. And I'm with you. But the thing is, there's a very simple way to explain this. Somebody needs heart surgery. Oh, I don't want to do it. Nobody wants to do it. Well, who's going to make them do it to make your community continue? No one. If there's not an enforcement to do so, which is why every communist country that we've ever seen has always ended up in a dictatorship, because there needs to be somebody to enforce you to do the thing. Now, in Mao's actual China, they were like, okay, all of you eggheads and bigwigs and all you guys that are super smart, you're going to trenches because we need more trenches. Now, like, and they were like, well, we don't want to do it. Well, yeah, you don't want to do it. Okay, well, we're going to make you do it. So the military made them do it because we need more trenches. So, like, what is it's the exact same. It happens in every single communist country. Muffler.
Well,
enforcement or incentive. That's all I wanted to say. Continue.
No, like really the point in all of this that I was trying to make is like you can draw the analogy of, okay, say that we all live in a society that doesn't have money or anything. We just live, meeting basic needs and everything, right? Say I go out in my free time and I grow carrots on a plot of land, all right? And that is, the source of food. I put in labor to grow those carrots. But what if everyone else needs them? Because they need to eat too.
Well,
does that suddenly negate the fact that I put in labor to something? Because somebody else needs it. That's my big hang up on all of this, is that when you start talking about providing services as rights, you inevitably get to the point where you have to contend with some of these ideas where either you're bordering on like legitimately just having people as slaves, or you're running into economic problems that are going to cause shortages down the line.
That's what I'm saying. Who, like, in the situation that Roman and like other people are putting forward, who the fuck is going to be the guy that goes, yeah, I'm willingly going to go in the sewers and trudge through human feces in order to clean it out for all of you people with no pay?
Well, I don't think that's part of it there. That's a little bit that's straight up the communist thing, and that hasn't been what Roman has been arguing this whole time. I'm not gonna completely ignore everything that he's saying here.
I kind of think he has been arguing this point, and Roman, feel free to.
No, he hasn't. No.
Yeah, he still believes in private property, but there's a fine line because
that's what I mean.
Like that's the joke. I was going to make that joke of like, but it's not your land, Crimson. The government owns that. That's public land, So, but moving on, that was the joke.
No, I actually think that communism is actually dumb as hell. I think that communism does not work. What I would want is Eugene Debs. When I was, in college, I read him because my teacher made me. So I read basically what his points were, and what he wanted was to use the he wanted to try to improve from within. Like he wanted stronger labor unions. He wanted workers to be able to get more rights and such, and he basically argued for people he wanted to reform capitalism, not completely abolish it. Whereas Karl Marx essentially wanted to completely get rid of he wanted to get rid of capitalism. And if you read Marx's book, people do not like that because it's stupid as hell. Yes,
Yeah.
What do you want?
So, if you strengthen labor unions, are labor unions hierarchical at all?
Yes.
Like, do you have like a union president, and like, do you have like an electric body? Like, I mean, you have to empower them, otherwise they can't really, do the work, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, so you're just trading like actual government for a private government, then?
Pretty much.
I want the people to have more of a say, is what I would like. That would be my preference.
Well, I will use this example because my father worked in a steel mill for over 20 years. Okay, and he was part of the union for the steel mill as well. But the issue with that is that, the only thing that they were feasibly able to achieve in the positive direction was a little bit more safety for people, because it was a pretty dangerous place to work. Plenty of people died out there and stuff, right? But outside of those safety things, like it became like very much just like what you would expect, where you have like an inner club that rules, it, and it doesn't matter what the people wanted and stuff, right? Their vote didn't matter because they just weren't going to let certain contracts go through and stuff like that. So it became essentially a secondary lobbying union. Like it just became an extra group of lobbyists that if you didn't make them happy, then, well, I guess you weren't getting what you wanted and stuff.
So
I think you're making, what I'm trying to say is that, you're adding extra steps and making things even more complicated. And the more complex something is, the easier it is to break it.
Sure. So
or inefficiency.
It's always nice when you have this awesome shonen power system and some motherfucker just shows up with a gun and ruins everything.
So I wanted to respond to what Rolando said, because I think actually in our Discord, I don't know what started it, but we actually had a discussion similar to this about like a month ago.
Yeah.
And I basically like laid out points, and socialism, at least in the way that I would want to do it, the way that Eugene Debs would have wanted it to be practiced, you don't get rid of private property. Okay, you can keep your homes, you can keep your cars, you can keep your small businesses. Essentially, what that would mean is that it does not allow private ownership of the means of production and such. Yes, Muffler.
Right. So I'll just use the example Crimson gave, that like if you have a piece of land, then you're able to produce crops on it. You're able to do things. You can have a structure on there. So you can use the land, right? So the land itself becomes a means of production when you get to the most minute granular levels. Man.
The biggest issue I have there is you cannot privately own the means of production, but private property is allowed. Those two things in and of themselves tend to be contradictory, because if someone invents a means of producing something, say like silicon chips, right? Someone invented that. That was their idea. That is technically their intellectual property. Do they now have to surrender the fruits of their labor to the public because they've made something, because it's the means of production?
Of course.
Let's take this even further. I think I used this when we were talking about something. Say that you do have a steel mill. Making steel is a very important part of modern society. How do you split that between publicly owning the means of production and owning a private company? You have to define the means of production at some point in there. Like, what does that actually mean? Where's the line in which people are allowed to control their own businesses? Otherwise, it is completely arbitrary. And whoever's in power gets to say what they control.
Essentially, banks. That's mostly what I'm talking about.
Not always.
Like, Muffler, what you have your
I was going to say something different before you jumped in on that. I want you to explain banks here in a second, but I was just going to say too, the other thing I tried to argue with you before on that was that if you just implement the system now, whatever stratification already exists would just continue to exist because you already have an uneven distribution of property and assets that people already own, right? So unless you're actively going to try to take those assets from people, which is fucking horrible, I think that what you do is you just stratify society and you have no upward mobility. People can't achieve anything greater than what they're already locked in at. And then you get like a total collapse, in my opinion, on that. Like you'll get some really bad ramifications if you just implement the system and keep things stagnant as they are, because the systems aren't meant to be stagnant. You're meant to have change and be free flowing as much as possible.
I have one more important question before we get to the banks. When you started talking about how Eugene Debs wanted workers to have more rights, there's another vacuous term that doesn't have a definition that I'm struggling to really understand what you mean by.
So you mean by workers having rights? Like, I guess what I mean is that because in a lot of companies, like say for example you work for like Amazon or like you work for like FedEx, like a lot of those workers really don't have a say in actually what happens within their workplace, but yet they basically are the cogs that keep the machine going. So
okay, well, why would they have a say? They're trading their labor for money. They're getting paid to do what they're told. Why would they have a say?
Because they make that company billions of dollars.
What?
But they're trading the risk of taking their own time and capital and putting themselves out on a limb to make money for the security of that paycheck. That's the big. That's a disconnect right there. Like, why does someone get to take on no risk but have all the reward? That doesn't make sense to me.
I'm not saying that they shouldn't have risk. What I'm saying is that if you want to talk about before like 2020, a lot of Amazon warehouses were not safe to work in. The workers were getting injured. So like,
oh my God, Roman, no.
Hey,
hold up. Let me finish because there are still a few questions here.
Mm-hmm.
So like, the thing is that if you're putting yourself like at risk to get like injured and such, then my view is like, if you're making like UPS or FedEx or Amazon a shit ton of money, then why shouldn't you be able to at least at your warehouse have some sort of a say in the direction that warehouse warehouse is making? I'm not saying that they should be on the board of the company. I'm saying that in that particular warehouse, the workers should be able to say like what happens.
Crimson, I ran a warehouse.
I have a problem with that because you still haven't really defined anything. You've just said that the workers should have a say.
I will let you talk, but I'm going right after because I ran a warehouse. So go ahead.
Obviously, safety is an important thing. But yeah, again, you're talking about like people have their own ability to manage risk. Like they can assess whether the pay is worth it for the risks they have to take. It's a legitimate question that I had to grapple with here recently because I was working on some dangerous shit.
You were.
Yeah, I've done it too.
It was the question of, am I making enough money to justify the risk? A lot of people have to think about this question. That doesn't necessarily mean that they have the rights to control the direction of an entire part of a company. And therein, we do have to define what we're talking about. I do want people to work in safe environments. Okay, I'm not doing stupid shit to the people I work with while I'm on the job. I get it, but at the same time, I need you to better define what you mean by workers should have more rights. Because just saying they should have safer environments, well, not every job is conducive to a safe environment. Okay, right. I work with power tools. I could cut a finger off at any time if I'm being reckless.
Yeah, I work.
Is that the company's fault?
If I'm being reckless and I put my hand in the wrong tank and mess with the wrong animal, I get stabbed. I die.
So
I die.
So I want to keep this a little bit. I want to give Roman a chance to answer this again, because more rights for workers sounds nice, but if you can't define it, it's meaningless. you can't define what that looks like, it's meaningless.
Well, I want to step on the warehouse thing as well.
Well, we'll let you do your thing, but I'm curious to know what Roman thinks of this.
I mean, Roland is chomping at the bit. Plus, I want to think about my, answer. So I'll let him talk.
No, go ahead. You got the floor.
No, he's passing the torch to you, so he's waiting on that one.
No, yeah, because I want to think about my, response to Crimson's question. So I'll let you go, Roland.
Okay, I'm somebody who is a warehouse, and I ran it for about 2.5 years, 3 years. Everybody that does a job within a warehouse, this is why this is a terrible example for you, that is slightly dangerous, is certified to do said job. If they get hurt, they know exactly why they got hurt. It was their mistake. There is rights there. That's why they need to be certified. If they were not certified to do said job, therein lie would be the problem. But again, I had to make sure that every single person that worked there that was going to even going to use a hand lifter. If you know what that is, it's the little forklift that you jack up with your hand.
Yeah, pallet jack, right?
Yeah, pallet jack.
I was about to say that sounds like a pallet jack. We shouldn't be talking about jacking things up with your hand on a podcast.
You get what I'm saying?
With our reputation of dick
let alone
jokes
with Roman here.
People still aren't allowed to use that if they don't know how to use one, especially if it's an electric one. Not only for the damage of product, but because you actually hurt yourself. So, believe me, these are things that we already know. Like, you're going into a warehouse job knowing that. So, just saying, if you're going to make this argument, don't use a warehouse or Amazon or any of those things as an argument, because I guarantee you, if my rinky-dink warehouse was up to code, then Amazon definitely fucking is.
I mean,
that's all I had to say.
Well, when you were working at the warehouse, Roland, I know that you say that you ran it, but did you think that you were getting paid a fair wage?
Yeah. Yeah, the problem was that we didn't my boss, she kind of like went down a bad path on her own personal life, and she stopped paying me the coworkers on time. That was it.
Right. Okay, so
I was definitely getting a fair wage for our work, for sure. I was getting paid like $23 an hour. Like, yeah.
Sure. So, here's the thing. The reason that I brought Amazon up was because before 2020, it would say in their handbook that they would give like paid family leave, they would give paid, sick leave and such, and they would basically give their employees like what they like when you sign up for a job, depending on the job, like in my handbook, it says I have like 10 paid sick days or something because I'm, full time. Anyway, point is, Amazon was not honoring their employees paid like maternity leave, was not honoring their paid sick leave. So the reason that I brought them up is because what happened was a few politicians were able to get Amazon on a national scale, not only increase the wages of their workers, but also guarantee, well, I don't know if they've still done it, but they got Amazon to essentially, I don't know for how long, I don't know if it's still holding, but they got Amazon to clean up their act and actually like respect and give their workers their paid time off or their maternity leave or their sick leave.
There's two
That's
interesting
basically what I'm talking
points
about.
to be made there, but I'm going to let you finish, Roman.
Well, just what I'm saying is that like the reason that I brought Amazon in particular up is because they weren't honoring like paid sick leave, paid family leave, paid medical leave. Like they were not giving their workers stuff that they should have had. So that's a big part of what I'm talking about when I say that. Like that's what I mean when I mean like workers' rights. That's something that.
Okay, well, here's the thing on that is before you go, Roland,
let me rebuttal real fast just with one thing. It's the fact that what you started with was not that. What you started with was pay in general. I'm telling you that
sure.
you're talking about actual, like you were talking, like your original point had to do with getting hurt at work. Now you're talking about sick leave and things like that. Completely different point.
Here's the bigger point in all of this is, so let's assume that all of this is like very clearly defined, and like there's no fine print or anything, no legalese. Amazon promises these things and they don't fulfill. That's a shitty thing. They shouldn't be doing that, and they should face legal repercussions for shit like that. Absolutely. There's no reason for that to be a thing.
I do want to jump in when you guys are done for a sec.
Okay. The big problem that I have here is with a lot of these companies, people tend not to read fine print on how they define some of these things. So oftentimes you'll hear these comments about like, oh, well, they promised me this many sick days, but they won't give them to me, when the fine print in there kind of defines how you're allowed to use them. There are a lot of these legal traps that people will use, people will fall for, where companies will lay out something that on the surface seems like really simple and intuitive, and people will be like, oh, wow, they say this, therefore it is this. But they don't read the defining, print below it that actually matters as to where all that goes. So if it's the latter situation, it isn't necessarily Amazon's fault. It is deceptive and kind of shitty thing to do, to like lure people in like that. But at the end of the day, people still have a fair chance to read through all of that. They just don't.
Sure. Just before I let Arceus go, this is an isolated example, but I had a friend who decided to work for Amazon, and he was told right off of the bat that he got 10 paid sick days. Also same with my company as well. So he had 7. He got really sick. This is during like COVID time, right? And so he got really badly sick. They didn't honor it. So I'm just saying, like, I would want that to be nipped in the bud. I don't want Amazon.
Is it 7 in a row? Like, how does it work?
It then again goes down to, is this a situation where they straight up just didn't honor their word, or is this another one of those contract things? Like, it sucks for your friend. Like, it shouldn't happen that way. But the fact is, if you sign on to something with these nefarious terms like that, you're kind of on the hook for doing so.
Yeah. I work in
Sorry,
go ahead, man. I apologize.
No. I mean, all I was going to say is, people should read the fine print. I'm not, disagreeing with that, but it's also pretty shitty of the companies to pull that, though.
Yeah, this is probably a good part to mention.
All right. Give me a second.
Give Arceus a chance. He's been waiting here for a while.
Yes, hold on. That's what I'm doing. I was going to say, let Arceus talk, then Muffler, then I got something to say at the same point.
This is probably a good enough time to mention that there were 2 specific jobs I worked at when I was in college. There were times that I was working there full time. There were times that I was part time. And those 2 specific jobs where I was working 8 to 9 hour shifts, if not a little bit longer, whether it was bussing at a restaurant or working retail at an electronics store, I never got a break. legally these companies are supposed to give you, 30-minute, 15-minute, breaks usually. But sometimes, they'll just give you a contract to sign off on, whether I read it or not. I don't remember, too long ago to remember that. But like, I was literally having this conversation with Brittany last week saying that, like, yeah, I've never gotten a break out of work shift that I've ever really worked at. Right now, what I'm doing is different. But like, I'm just saying, man, I'm just throwing that out there, just for people.
I get it. Well, the thing is like, for a while when I first started working for my dad, we just didn't take breaks because it was easier to use the time to actually finish out what we needed to do for the day rather than work late and take the breaks.
Yeah. I'm not trying to complain
like
about
some smaller companies do shit like that. Like, I get it.
Sorry.
Like, legally though, they are obligated to do stuff like that. And if you're promising something in a contract, you should one, be living up to legal obligations. Two, you should live up to the contract that you're actually signing with someone, because again, someone is trading their labor for pay and benefits. And if that's an exchange, and if you're not living up to your end of the exchange, you're pretty much stealing from someone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, do you want to say something?
Real fast. There's somebody else that's trying to join into the studio. I don't know who it is.
Rolando. So
probably Rolando. So if there is somebody that doesn't have much to say, like Cammy, if you're just
shit, Maddie, I didn't even know you were here. What's up?
Surprise! Hello.
I'm just
hello. Cam, if you're
dropped off the face of the earth for a little while there.